Hello and welcome to Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And whether you are running a marathon, a 10K or the upcoming Great North Run, we hope that this is the running forum and the running club that you can come to for all of those questions that you need to ask and you need to find the answers to. On today's show, we have a special guest in Eilish McColgan, who has won European and Commonwealth medals and, of course, that Commonwealth title. Plus, more running tips. She will answer some of our questions and we have the honours board coming up.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And just a quick reminder as well that the podcast is sponsored by NordVPN. You can still use that link, which is, of course, nordvpn.com/Paula's Run Club to take full advantage of that 4 months extra free, protect your data and carry on watching all of those things that you're used to watching at home, wherever you are in the world. And on that, Tomo, where are you with your Destination X?
Do you know what? Such is my life. I watch it in like stages, and I've only got one more. I think I'm only 4 episodes in. More importantly, have you been able to watch it yet?
I haven't had a chance to catch up on it. I have to say
we're using
that.
the busy
I have been
excuse.
using a lot of because you're supposed to travel and do a lot of things like that, and you have been working out all of those logistics. Because of course my daughter Isla is getting ready to start university. She's going to start Durham University at the end of September. So I have been trying to plan all of those different logistics because unfortunately she starts exactly on the day of Raf's birthday, which means that I've got to really be in 2 places at once, and you can't be in 2 places at once, so I'm trying to figure that out there. So that's a part of that.
AI might help with that in the future.
I know. You've got a while till that one, so I think you'll be all right there. I think you need more help with the Great North Run coming up, right? Because that's going to be a big week for you mileage wise.
Well, normally running a half marathon wouldn't be a big mileage week for me, but so because we got I'm now going to be doing the 5K as well on the Friday and jogging around with that, talking to people, interviewing some of the winners and participants, and obviously doing the Great North, doing 30 miles. So I'm getting there, I'm building up, but we also want to, in between that, potentially have a bit of a shakeout ourselves on the Saturday, if possible.
We do. We have exciting news. So what we're going to do is we're going to film a live podcast, and that's going to be filmed on the Saturday of the Great North Run. We will confirm those details later, but obviously from Gateshead, from Newcastle. I think it will be in Gateshead, won't it, Tomo? And we would like afterwards to have an actual Paula's Run Club shakeout. And we have permission from the organisers to use the course that they're using for the kids' races. So if you are interested, if you are around and you're getting ready, we promise it is a very friendly, very easy shakeout. Ask questions, just come along and be part of the Run Club, actually in person.
Yeah, and the rest of the details we'll post out so that people are aware of the time and what's going on. But we're looking forward to actually meeting some of you and some of the awesome listeners that are also writing in, and any questions, like Paula says, and just really get into the thick of the community. And I need to get training because I think it's going to end up being a marathon in 3 days for me, which is going to be a shock to the system. But I'm up for it. Yeah, looking forward to doing all that for 3 days and doing some commentary, getting lots of stories and getting lots of inspirational tidbits while people are running and around the event. But the GNR is also very famous for how good it is at the front. Now, only the best genuinely the best win this race. How many times have you won it yourself?
I think twice. I know I didn't win it my first time. Right. I came in of Sydney, after Sydney, in the Olympics, and moved up to running the half marathon. Loved it, but I think I finished third. Then I ran 67. I think I ran 67.07. It was massive for me. We were talking about Eilish coming up later on, but it was big for me to tick off one of Liz McColgan's British records, and I think that was about 67.11, and I just sneaked under it. And then in 2003, I was lucky enough to run my personal best, even though I don't know if it counts for an actual personal best on a half marathon. It certainly didn't count as a British record because it was on the Great North. But why did the other one count? Don't know. But I ran 65.40.
Well, it's to do with point to point, isn't it? It's because it's to do with you can't have the start and the finish too far apart and it's to do with wind. It's like Boston. It's to do with you could have a very favourable wind one day, but GNR generally is I feel like is a true reflection of Like, I don't think it's an easy course, but
no, not at all. Which is why I think I was measuring myself maybe against what Liz had run, because I know she'd run on that course a lot of times, but it never counted as a British record. Certainly that one actually came from, I think, Bristol in the World Half.
Okay, because my PB is still my personal PB is from GNR 6100, but like you say, my official kind of PB is actually from the big half, which is the same weekend, this weekend in London, 6107, I think it was. But yeah, the best I could manage was a fourth. I never quite managed a podium at GNR, which frustrates me. But again, I remind myself of how good a quality that the elite field every time is phenomenal. Like, I still, it gets sometimes regarded as one of the greatest races ever outside of a World and Olympics. Was the year, you remind me of the year, I can't remember the year, but it was the year that Mo, Kennedy C. Bekele, Hayley Gebrselassie, three greats. It was almost
Was
that.
it 18?
2018. It might. It might have been 18, 17. It was around
Something
then,
like that,
and it was and it was one of Gebrselassie last races, and it was almost the way the race went. It was obviously Ethiopia versus Mo in a way, and Gebrselassie did a bit of a rope-a-dope to try and string Mo out of it. And I remember Mo saying to me, he actually turned to Gebrselassie almost like, we've dropped Bekele, let's go, because he felt he could beat Gebrselassie in a sprint, but not Bekele. But little did he know, Gebrselassie was kind of working together with Bekele, and so he was not. He was deliberately kind of trying to string Mo along, and Mo was getting itchy, trying to say, "Come on, let's go, we've got him." Then Bekele came back into the mix. They dropped down onto South Shields, and one of the most incredible sprint finishes, which Bekele ended up winning, and one of the few times Mo got beaten. And that's what, for me, when I look back at historical races at GNR, there are some incredible moments like that. And hopefully we'll see more this weekend.
Absolutely. I think for anybody who's doing it for the first time, it is a very, very special race as well, isn't it? I mean, it's in an area of the country that really gets running. I think the Northeast is a huge area for running, for the depth of talent that's come out of there over the years, and just for the understanding of what makes people tick, what makes runners tick, and what makes great events work. And that's why I think for anybody who hasn't done it before, you have a massive treat in store for you from start to finish. It is a bit like a carnival, it is like a party. Please do save a little bit in your legs for the pull uphill from 9 to 11 miles. I think Eilish gives us a great tidbit later on about not going off too quickly as well, and also save something for that drop onto the seafront in South Shields, because it's a steep drop. And I do remember actually the first time Mo ran it, giving him the advice and saying, look, whatever you do, don't hammer it down there, because your quads won't recover in time to be able to race well along the seafront. And I think he misunderstood, and I think he thought I told him to hammer it down there, which is why I think that then came back to bite him a little bit in terms of what he had left in the
He didn't hit the hay
finish.
bales, did he?
No, I don't think he did that, but I think he did kind of because there's a technique, isn't there, in letting yourself go down a hill without breaking with every step. And I think that's what you need to get right in the Great North Run. You need to use that hill for every little bit of advantage that the gravity can bring you, but you don't need to be trying to break with your quads and absorb all of that impact, because then it's a real struggle to keep going for that mile and a bit on the seafront.
No, it is. Yeah, hills are tough. I'll tell you a quick, because the Eilish episode is brilliant and it's long, so we don't want to spend too long talking between us. We want to get the main person on, but I do. When there's hills in races, there was one event in Manchester in Connecticut, and it goes back to our kind of funny stories kind of section where they had this thing called the King of the Hill. So the first kind of mile and a half is all uphill, and you reach the top of this hill point, the highest point of the course, and then drop down like a almost 2.5 mile round trip back to the start. It's a bit of a quirky length distance, but it's a turkey trot, Thanksgiving, everyone's out dressed as turkeys, Superman, whatever. And at the top of the hill, you get the winner of the top of the hill gets $1,000. And I didn't think about it at all, but I went off hard because I thought my biggest strength here is the uphill, not the downhill. So I went as hard as I could up, and I actually managed to get a gap, which I didn't really anticipate. And then I got about 100 meters from the brow, and people, yeah, and they're coming. And I realised, oh, actually, I could actually win $1,000, so I need to kick in. And as I got to the top, all I heard as I went off the top was this American guy shouting, $1,000, baby, $1,000. And I thought, yeah, brilliant. And then I thought, hang on, I'm racing. I've got to get back into this. So it was one of the nicer things to be shouted, to let them know that you won money during a race. I was very proud of that.
So how did you come out at the end of the race?
I finished third. I got taken in a sprint finish. So do you know what? So often I think the right terminology is bridesmaid. Third, fourth seems to be my sweet spot. I just never, yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah. I'm talking to you about that. Yeah, sorry. You won enough races. You won enough big races. I didn't quite have as many, but I was always trying to find a way to win, because I felt like I didn't have many ways to win. Whereas you look at someone like Mo, he had umpteen different ways he could win a race, and so on that day I felt getting out hard up the hill to then run that hard down was my best option. It didn't quite pull off, and I got taken in the sprint finish. But yeah, one of the funner things. But anyway,
yeah, but you did get to go out there and do your race. So without any further ado, it is a great pleasure to introduce our guest. Needs no introduction really, in Eilish McColgan, of course, European and Commonwealth medalist, and won that Commonwealth title in the recent Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, which was a huge moment for her. Her mum Liz needs no introduction. Was a huge inspiration to me growing up, and a big help as well with advice in the early stages. And I think she talks about the fact that someone like Grete Waitz was a huge idol for her growing up, and a huge source of advice as well. So let's get into this chat with Eilish and share how she's getting ready for the Great North Run coming up, and then of course New York City Marathon.
And let's not forget her fiance Michael Rimmer gets a few mentions as
absolutely.
Well. The legend that is. 3-time Olympian.
Eilish, thanks so much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
You are, just for clarity, you're up in Font-Romeu right now in training camp, right?
Yeah, just getting ready for, as you mentioned, Great North Run is next weekend for me. So that's the race I've been sort of gearing up for the last couple of months since London Marathon. To be honest, that's been on my sort of schedule. So yeah, just plugging away and training up the mountains.
And training has been going well. And I love that you use the mountains, because I do remember years ago your mum came, I think she came once, and she hated it. Yet you've really fallen in love with the area, and you spend a lot of time there. And I know all of the locals are really proud that you spend so much time there. They talk about the fact that we see Eilish running around, we see Eilish on the track, and it's really a big deal. And I think, am I right, you came as a little girl that one time that your mum came?
To be honest, I don't remember it at all. I know my mum tried here, and I think she tried maybe Albuquerque over in America.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's very typical of my mum. Like, she does everything 100 mile an hour. So she came here, and that's why she couldn't hit her splits, her easy run pace. Like, my mum did everything under probably 6-minute miling for an easy run. So she'd come here and not understand why she couldn't do her runs at 5, whatever. But I suppose that was just the knowledge of not really understanding altitude training either. So I remember she said she came up here, she battered training for so many weeks she was here, and then she came back down to sea level and had an awful race, and then just decided that's it, doesn't work for me. But
no, I think she did. In fairness, I think it dumped a whole load of snow, as it can do at certain times of the year, which wasn't ideal either for her.
No, so I think for me it's been like really beneficial. We've definitely learned to everything has to be a little bit slower. You have to accept that your paces are not going to be the same pace that you're going to run at sea level. It's just a harder stress on the body. But I feel like you definitely get more bang for your buck essentially training at altitude. And it is a really nice area. We're in such a small little peaceful town, and it's quite inspirational being around that many athletes too. Every time you go for a run, every time you go onto the track, there's just different people from different corners of the world, all training for different things too, whether it's the Worlds, whether it's the UTMB trail races that are coming up soon. It's a pretty unique town.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. But you must have had, you had a pretty unique growing up, already immersed in that environment, and it has pros and cons for sure. I mean, I think you have a huge amount of admiration for the way that you handled the expectation of carrying the McColgan name. on both sides, which brought that pressure with it. And you've got what, four or five brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so three little
Four,
brothers and a
yeah.
little sister, so they were a big family, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I never felt the pressure. Like, I feel like everyone sort of expected that to be the case because of the name, and I know what my siblings felt differently. They felt when they lined up at like school races and stuff that they were just expected to win. You know, there was a pressure on them because their mum was a runner, their dad was a runner, and then probably didn't help that their sister was also sort of coming through as a runner too. But for me, I just honestly never ever cared. I always felt like my mum and dad were just totally different to me, and I just loved running. I loved everything about it, and I suppose I just thought I was different. I wasn't my mum, you know. I was another person, so I never viewed it as like me versus her or trying to get her times or anything like that. I just enjoyed the sport for what it was. But I do remember being like away a lot as a kid, but not really. For me, it was just a holiday. But now when I look back, it clearly wasn't a holiday. You know, like my mum and dad were obviously on training camps and preparing for whether it be Olympics, Worlds, major marathons. But at my young age, like, I just thought we were off to America on a holiday
Which I think is credit to them, isn't it? For not making it feel like you were being dragged to work, but making it feel like you were actually getting a holiday and you were getting to, I guess, see a lot of the world. I mean, I remember you at Balmoral. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. When I was racing, your mum was racing. We had John Kane, who was one of the founders of the Great North Run, out there sweeping the snow off the course. Prince William and Harry were building a snowman, and you were running around in the kids' race.
I did. That was one of the first ever races that I did, I think, as like a sort of, because it was a big race back then, the Balmoral. You know, there was there's thousands of people that signed up and did it. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose there was always like a really fun element for me around races or like traveling. I was always traveling and going places with mum and dad, but not realizing that that was their work. You know, it was their job. I don't even really ever remember seeing my mum race, in all honesty. I remember seeing her sort of go for a run or do a session, but I was never like, I was always hidden away from that, if you know what I mean. My dad would take me and go and play football or climb a tree or whatever I was doing. It wasn't like I was being forced to like watch my mum run. I didn't really have any awareness of what my mum really did until I hit high school. And then when I hit high school, I realised, oh, like, my mum's a professional at this. You know, it's a real job. Like, people know who she is. People come to the door for autographs of her house. Like, all of that was super strange for me. And it only really hit me when I got to high school that there wasn't, like, my mum and dad didn't work a normal, like, 9-to-5 job. I just thought everyone's parents went out for runs and everyone was fit and active and liked running. Like, it was quite probably a big wake-up call for me when I went to high school and realised that wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do think it's fascinating. I remember you telling me the story as well about when did you go to race in Oslo and you popped round to see Jack Weitz?
Yes.
And it's like the people around you as well, you probably just grew up with, just thinking they're just family friends and they're legends and icons of the sport. Yeah,
both, again, like Jack and Grete Waitz. I remember like they would be around at the house all the time, and again, I just thought it was my mum and dad's friends. And ultimately, it wasn't until I really got involved in the sport myself that I understood what an icon Grete was for women in sport, and also marathon running, like just everything that she did. I mean, she, even to this day, she's now one of my heroes in the sport because of what she achieved in her career, and essentially just paved the way for everyone else. But as a young kid, I had no concept. It was just my mum's pal. Like, I didn't have a clue that all the achievements she had done. Like, it's just crazy when I look back because I had no appreciation for that whatsoever. And yeah, it was only probably the latter years of Grete's life, unfortunately, when she was spending a lot of time with us. She was coming over to Scotland and spending a lot of time because I know she obviously had cancer and she knew she didn't have long left. And it was only really then that I was more involved in running that I started to really appreciate, like, wow, this woman is incredible. Like, so special what she's done. And but as you said, for me, it was just, I just had a different mindset, I think, to it all, because I just had no real awareness of I probably didn't really know what a professional elite sport was until really I got into sort of 16, 17 and started to realise how hard it was to like make a Scottish championship or make a British championship. And then you have a greater awareness of like, okay, like this is this is tough. You know, it's tough to reach that next level.
It didn't all come easily for you either in your career, and we will get to the kind of that Commonwealth victory and how special that was. But I remember this massively serious foot injury that you had, and that forced you essentially, didn't it, to change from steeplechase to the flat.
Yeah, so like growing up, I just loved running. You know, I enjoyed it. I remember like winning a cross country, like I don't know, British cross country. I can't remember what it was called, the McCain's League or whatever it was back in the day.
I think it was McCain Cross.
Reebok
McCain Cross. Yeah. It's had a few names. Fried crisps or fried. Well, we had a league when I was growing up, the McDonald's League, which has a certain level of irony now. But yes.
Well, that was like one of the first, that sort of cross country league. I won it as an under 13, and I'm thinking, oh wow, like I'm just going to go from like strength to strength to strength. I'm going to win this, and then I'll go on the track and I'll just improve. And it just didn't happen like that for me. I just really struggled through probably puberty and growing. Like I'm obviously quite tall. I felt like all my energy that I was trying to put into running was just going elsewhere in my body, just to try and, I suppose, as I said, go through puberty and the height and everything. I just felt like the energy was flat. And so I had a good couple of years where I just plateaued, and I didn't run any faster over 800 meters from when I was like probably about 13 or 14 years old, right the way through to like 17 or 18. I think around the same time again, but like point something faster. And so, that improvement just didn't happen the way I expected to. But I think that's the same with a lot of young kids. You know, I try to, that's why I do a lot of talks in schools and I do a lot of mentorship things. And I think I try to encourage youngsters that it doesn't really matter what you're doing when you're like under 13, under 15, under 17, honestly, because it really matters what you're doing as a senior athlete and making sure that you can make that jump from junior to senior. Because once your body is fully grown and developed and you have all that energy back again, like that's when you can really start making progress within your running. And so for me, I remember when I got to about, I think it must have been 2011, so I would have been about 21, I got picked for my first GB team. And I couldn't believe it, you know, after years of like just plugging away and not really making any improvements. I then made like a bit of a breakthrough in making the European Team Cup for steeplechase. But I remember being told at the time that I was a reserve for all events, all distance events, which was absolutely petrifying. I think we had like Jenny Meadows in the 800, and I was thinking, oh my God, if Jenny Meadows drops out in 800 and I have to go in 800, we're in trouble. And then it was, it might have been someone like Helen Clitheroe in the 15. It was like I can't remember who it was, but there was like so many incredible women. I'm thinking, God, I pray none of these people drop out. I think it was Hattie Dean that pulled out of the steeplechase, and I raced the steeplechase. And so that was my first like sort of GB vest and first test of like a taster of what that could be like. And I probably just got so excited. I remember thinking, right, I'm going to channel all my energy into this. Like I'm going to try and make the World Championships this year, 2011. I was just throwing myself into every single Diamond League, and ultimately ended up with quite a serious injury. And the Crystal Palace Diamond League was my first one televised on BBC. And 600 metres to go, I just landed awkwardly on the water jump and heard a massive pop in my foot. And I'd never broken a bone at that point. You know, I'd climbed trees and fallen out of trees as kids and never ever broken anything. But instantly, just the noise that it made, I was like, I know this is it. So I hobbled the last 600 meters. I climbed over the barriers. Like I made it. I ran a PB, qualified for Worlds. But obviously I didn't go. I was in a boot for a very long time. I had surgery to put 5 screws in a metal plate, like a special cap. They essentially
Which bone was it?
So it was the navicular bone, but I damaged because I kept running for those 600 meters and jumping. I had then displaced all the bones in the midfoot, essentially. That's why they had to like create it was like a bespoke titanium plate or something that they had to create like almost in the middle of my foot to reinforce everything again. So yeah, I felt like I was sort of on the way up. I'd made my first GB team. I was super excited, like getting into the Diamond Leagues, and then it came crumbling down for me very, very quickly. And that was a long process, learning how to how to reshape my foot. I had to learn how to walk again with a foot on like a little trampette to try and get like the movement back through my big toe and the midfoot. Like, it was a long process. But yeah, I finally got back, and I made the London Olympics off the back of that, but obviously wasn't in any real shape or anything. But even just making the London for me was a huge achievement off the back of what I thought would be a career-ending injury.
Yeah, and I think it could have been for so many people. And you, I think, also hugely inspirational for the way that you managed that. I mean, given that your mum's coaching you and advising you, your mum was not someone who ever used a lot of cross-training, and you really did to great effect. I mean, you, I think, are one of the athletes who achieved a huge amount by really sensibly using that cross-training to kind of reduce the actual on your feet impact and mileage as much as possible, and make what you did do very much quality sessions.
Yeah, like, I think that's again why people sort of compare me and my mum, but I feel we're so different. You know, my mum's an athlete who could run upwards of 100, 120 miles a week and not really have certainly not the problems or the surgeries that I've had to go through early in my career as well. So yeah, we had to just think differently. Like, I still obviously had this dream of making the Olympic Games, but I couldn't run. So it was like, what could I do? Alternative training for me was initially obviously starting off aqua jogging. I actually got a lot of advice from yourself regarding that, with regards to which belt to get and even the aqua jogging shoes. I mean, all of that for me was super helpful as a youngster coming through. Like, I didn't know where to start, but it did open my mind up a little bit to actually there's other ways to reach like your own personal best. You know, it doesn't have to be. I sort of used to think, oh, you know, my mum did it this way, so like I have to do it this way. But actually, that injury probably made me realise that there's so many different ways to get to essentially the same goal.
I think I was also going to say it's huge credit to Liz as a coach.
Oh, we cut out again. We cut out there, unfortunately.
No, we thought you were going to drop off completely. No, I was just about to say it's actually huge credit, I think, to your mum as a coach as well, because you were saying that you had in your mind you needed to do all this to achieve, and then you had to find a different way. She never thought, well, this is what worked for me, so I need to apply that. She worked with you and your body to get you back. And I mean, I think that's why for everybody watching, those moments after you won that title in Birmingham was so special, that you got to share that with your mum and your dad on the back straight as well. Like,
every time I sort of stand on the start line, I do feel like I'm doing it for my family. I do it for my mum, my dad, my partner Michael. Like, they're such a huge part of my career, and I wouldn't be here today without them, going through all those highs, all the sort of low moments to get to that one moment that you get. And yeah, I think my mum's done really well, as you said, to not just be like this one size fits all. I think it probably comes from her coaching a lot of different athletes too. I mean, she's coached 800 meter runners to other sort of marathon runners, all different levels and capabilities. Not everyone's an elite athlete, but I think it's just, I suppose you just learn then over the years actually what works for one person might be different and individualized for another. And so for me, cross training has been a huge part of that. And even now, people, like, I'm on training camp and people say, oh, why are you cross training? Like, you're not injured. It's just a huge part of my schedule now. I still do it a couple of days a week. It's not like I do sessions or anything on it. I'll only ever do sessions if I'm injured. Like, my sessions are really those quality hard ones on the track or road, whatever I'm doing. The cross training is just purely supplementary now. But yeah, I think it's been sort of testament to the work that my mum sort of put in behind the scenes to sort of, we tried different things and seen what works. And yeah, Commonwealth Games for me was a really special moment. It's very rare that I have my family actually even travel to watch me race. I mean, my dad wasn't even going to go. I had to pretty much force him down there because I was like, Dad, it's in Birmingham. Like, it's not even that far away. You've got absolutely no excuse not to go. And then afterwards, he was like, it's the best night of my life. I'm so glad I went. So it was nice, like, having them all there. And the crazy thing was, out of all those people in the stands, I like heard one of my really good friends, Jenny Selman, who had made the team. I heard her screaming my name, and she was standing right next to my mum. So I saw my mum like instantly after I crossed the line. I then, on my lap of honour, maybe about 100 metres round, I then saw Michael straight away. And then on the back straight, I saw my dad and my uncle. And like, it was just crazy how out of all those faces, you pick out your family members, and it wasn't like they had the best seats, you know, they were spread out in the crowd, they were just everywhere. But yeah, I picked out their voices and their faces out of the 40-odd thousand people there. It was really special.
Because that was during your lap of honour, right? But I just wanted to revisit that last lap, because I think for a lot of people watching, when they see an athlete put everything on the line like you did, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, the years and weeks and all the stuff that you've done leading up, the resilience, the bounce back and everything. And one of my real joys in athletics is watching all those emotions come out in the final lap of a race like that, when you're duking it out. And because of the way the cameras are now, we can actually almost see inside someone's mind. They get so close. And that race, the way the camera was able to capture almost just your grit and your determination, and the way it was never clear who was going to win until the final strides. Like, how much did the crowd and how much did you in that moment, like, just explain what it was like for you just to find that extra bit with everything that was going on?
Yeah, it's weird how much the crowd actually affect performance. I've never really thought about it that much before. Like, I remember going through halfway in the race and thinking, oh, have I gone a little bit hard here because I feel a bit tired? And, you know, everyone goes through that mentally. You start questioning, oh, have I gone a bit too quick here? Am I going to be struggling the last couple of laps? Like, you start questioning it. But because the crowd were so loud and because they were getting so excited that I was still at the front, it was like, it just got more elevated and more elevated and more elevated. I remember getting into the last K, and Michael had said to me, like, if you're there, the hardest bit for you is getting to the last K and being still in the race. Like, but if you're still in the race with a K to go, like, you'll finish just as fast as anyone else, but you need to be there. And so I sort of felt like I got to a K, and I remember thinking to myself, I've done all the hard work, you know, I've paced this entire race. Like, I'm not going to let them just come past me now with the last K. And that kept playing on my mind, certainly going into the last lap. I remember thinking, no, I've done all the work here. And I know, I almost felt like the crowd were just waiting for them to go past, you know, like you were just waiting for someone to come past and take it on.
I know that.
But there was
feeling.
that sort of determination of like, it's not happening today because I've done that many laps of this pace. But the crowd, honestly, that even that feeling of fatigue was just like gone. Going into like the last lap, I remember just feeling like a whole burst of energy and not feeling tired. Like, that tiredness that I'd felt early in the race had just vanished. And even the last like 150, the noise was getting so loud that I even felt like I was getting like vibrations through my hand and up my arms. It was an insane I've never heard a noise like that in all my life. And even in other races that I've watched as well, like, I've never felt or heard a noise like it. So for me, it just honestly felt like it went through my entire body, and that's the only thing I just channeled until the last 100. I was like, I'm winning this. I know I'm winning it. It's weird, a mindset shift as well, because I went into the race thinking I'd be happy just winning a medal. Don't care what colour, like, I just want to win a medal. And then in the race, you're like, no, I want to win like a silver. And then it went from silver, like, no, I'm winning gold. Like, that is it. There was just no other thing that I would be happy with, which is such a weird, I've never sort of went through those cycles in a race. But yeah, I think the crowd for me is something that I'll remember for a very, very long time. And I also feel very lucky that I even had that opportunity, because, you know, not everyone gets a chance to even sort of compete at that level in their home sort of stadium, a stadium that I competed in as a kid, doing British Championships for years and years and years. To have all those thousands of people cheering you on, and knowing that, like, your mum, your dad, your partner, everybody's in the crowd cheering for you. I've never had that before, and to be honest, I don't think I'll ever get that again. So the fact that I even got the chance to experience that was pretty special.
And you've mentioned Michael there. You've mentioned Michael a couple of times. I think we have to really touch on that, because I know your mum's your coach, but Michael is really kind of the hands-on every day. They're supporting you in all of the workouts, and is a big, big part of what you've built together.
Yeah, like, honestly, I wouldn't be where I am today without him. Like, he is, like, I'm also lucky because I get to travel with my best friend. You know, since the pandemic, like, we've made a real conscious effort to go all in on this. You know, if I need to be at altitude, I need to be at better weather, this is what I need to do. And so we travel together everywhere. I mean, we have 2 suitcases that we go from place to place to place. And it's like, it is a very unusual lifestyle, but I'm really lucky that he understands it. You know, he's obviously been an athlete himself, been to 3 Olympic Games himself. Like, he gets that this is what you need to do, especially as a distance runner. Altitude's such a key part of training. And he just understands it. Like, he's there with me every day, whether I feel tired and it's pissing down the rain outside. You know, he's on the bike next to me, pacing me either on the track or doing a long run with me. He's on the bike every single day, regardless of the conditions, regardless of how tired you are. Like, it does make a big difference having someone there who's your biggest supporter sort of through it all with you. And so, yeah, very, very lucky we get the chance to do this together.
And you mentioned it, and you've probably put on your social a couple of times, I've seen you put funny stories of things that happen, and we do have a bit of a segment on this, which is kind of funny things that happen when we're out running. But you just made me think then about, because Gary used to come on the bike as well a couple of times, and I can remember in Albuquerque him getting punctures because of the goat heads that come out of the little tumbleweed. Yeah, and so he'd get this bite and he'd throw it down and then try and pump it back up and then try and catch me up again, and then in the end just chucking it over the fence and just carrying on running with me to be able to finish that tempo run and then go back and retrieve the bike afterwards. But I'm sure there've been a number of times where it's not been, I mean, I've seen videos of Michael biking around the lake in Matamala in snowstorms, which is not fun. It's not fun running, but it's really not fun on a bike.
No, there's been I think there's only one time when we were training here. It's been really bad hailstoning, but there was one time in Colorado, it was almost minus 18 degrees or something. It was honestly, it was the coldest temperatures I've ever ran in my life. And I had a track tempo, and I remember going down to the track and I did my warm up, and it's the first time Michael just bailed. He said, "Listen, I'm sorry, I cannot do it today," because he had 2 pairs of gloves on. He had so many clothes on, but it was so cold. Like, it's just different on the bike. And also he's so slow, you know, he's going at the pace that I'm running at. So it's such a slow tempo for him on the bike. So he's only bailed on me once in the last 10 years or decade that we've been doing this. But I don't blame him, because honestly, I thought I was going to die that day. Even just everything, my heart, my lungs, I had so many clothes on. I was barely moving. But yeah, that wasn't too much fun. But there's been plenty of time with goat's head and punctured wheels, but unfortunately Michael's he's refusing to run, so he's either cycling or nothing at all at the moment.
I was going to say, like, I'm sure, I don't know where I was recently with you guys, and it shocked me that when Michael retired, he hadn't been on a run in like 4 or 5 years, and then you took him out for a quick. Was it something like that? He hadn't run a step after retiring for like some crazy amount of time.
Not at all. No, I feel like he just was like, no, like once he was done. Like, that was it. I don't know if
is that going to be like you?
No, again, distance runners are so different. You know, like 800 meters, like he was obviously
She's not classing 800 as a distance, Michael.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just different. It's just a different, like, he misses the sort of flat out like sprint stuff that he used to do. But for him, like, he hated going for a run. It wasn't fun for him. It wasn't like going out for a 30-minute run was enjoyable to him. Whereas for me, I like that. I don't mind going out for a run. Like, it clears my mind. So he misses the intensity, like the really fast, like race pace, lactic, you're being sick at the side of the track type stuff. Like, that's what he misses. But actually going out for like a casual, leisurely run, he was like, why would I want to do that? Do you know, I want to run just fast all the time. So he's honestly, hasn't run a step since like 2019, I think was the last time we did a run together. And then I tried to get him to do a couple of runs with me in Dubai. I actually put it on my Instagram. He did his first 5K with me. And again, like, for someone who's not ran since 2019, he just takes off. I'm like, what's he doing? He just got like, genetically, he's
been cross-training with you on a bike.
Yeah,
that's what he's been doing.
Honestly, I think he's just born with fast twitch fibers, and he's just naturally got that sort of speed. But he does have like the conditioning isn't there. So like calves, old man calf, old man Achilles, like all of that is just coming back to get him all the time. So it's I don't think he'll be running a marathon or anything like that anytime soon. So.
Or even the Great North.
To give him that nod though, before we need to ask you about the marathon, obviously, but before we move on, Michael was on your futures program, wasn't he, Paula? when he was young?
Yeah, so my Nike Scholars, I think he was the year after you, was he?
No, I'm sure he was. I'm sure he went on the first year with me. I'm sure. You see, I can
I
hang
think
with
maybe
the
it was
cool
a couple of
kids.
years.
Because I'm sure him and
We
me
did
were on for a
count
couple of
800
years.
as a distance. See, we put it all in there.
Yeah.
Stopped it all together.
So
Definitely.
Eilish, how was London? How was your experience in London? Because obviously you've had all that success on the track, but you have started a bit of a marathon sort of career, I guess we could call it. So how was London?
Yeah, the actual experience, like the atmosphere of London was unmatched, from start to finish. People are just cheering you on the whole way. Like that was really, really cool. I enjoyed every single second of that. I found the actual marathon very, very tough, but like obviously it was going to be. Like I never expected to go in there thinking it was going to be easy. But I think in hindsight, I probably went into it with too short of like a build into that marathon. Like I wasn't as prepared. I sort of knew that would be the case. Like I knew I wasn't going to be as prepared as I was in 2023 when I was like all guns blazing. I had a really good build up into London, and then ultimately I got injured and I didn't make the start line. So after the knee surgery I had at the end of 2023, I felt like 2024 was really a safe year. I was just trying to build back and trying to get over the knee surgery. And so the build up into this London was just almost very, very, well, just very safe. That's the only way I can describe it. I was absolutely petrified of doing something or training too hard and then not making the start line again. Mentally, I don't think I could have taken missing London again. I just felt like there was so much build up and probably a lot of pressure on that too, not only from myself, but just having been announced at racing. Everyone thinks you're racing, your sponsors think you're racing, and then you don't do it. And then you wait another year and then it's like, oh, you don't do it. It's like, it becomes like almost like I don't know, I just felt like I needed to mentally do it. I wanted to get round safely in one piece, no injuries, no niggles, cross the line, and just know in my mind that I was a marathoner. But ultimately that came at a price, probably just that preparation I was just a little bit underprepared. I think I did one 20-mile run at like an easy run pace, didn't go above that at all. My mileage was maybe like I had like 3 weeks above 80 miles a week, and that was it. Like it's just, that's not enough. That's what people do for probably 5k 10k running, not trying to do a marathon. So I knew it was going to be a challenge, but I'm glad I did it this way because I just felt like I did it. I got there. I feel like the mental sort of monkey on your back type thing is now gone, and I think right now I can go back to doing the training that I know works for me and not being scared of not making it again, if that makes sense.
And I think the mental strength... Sorry, Tommy.
I was going to say, I wouldn't recommend running a marathon in the future with a monkey on your back. That's gonna make life difficult.
Tom's great with his helpful things.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm on this pod, just to be annoying like that. Sorry, Paula.
I don't know. I do think that the mental strength, you undersell it there because you spent a huge part of that race completely on your own. It wasn't like you were with a group and you had people around you to help you get through those rough spots. You basically had to stay mentally strong the whole way through those 26 miles.
To be honest, that's one thing that I didn't like plan for in any way. Like I was so obsessed with taking on enough gels. That was my biggest thing. I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna like not take on enough drinks or gels and I'm gonna hit this wall, or that you have all these fears, or I'm gonna get blisters, or I'm gonna get chafing, just all these horror stories you hear from other people. Not once did I think I'm gonna run 25 miles solo, like completely alone. I just never saw that scenario, or even thought that scenario would be I never thought that scenario would happen. So that, to be honest, was one of the things I was really proud of when I finished, because I was like, do you know what, I finished that completely unscathed, like not a single blister, not a single niggle. But I finished it knowing that, like, mentally, I don't think there'll ever be a marathon as hard as that for me. I honestly think that first one, that will be the hardest one that I'll ever do, because I think just mentally it was just a slog towards the end to just keep like one foot when you don't know you don't even, I couldn't see anyone in front, I couldn't see anyone behind, I was just on my own and isolated that whole way. But the crowds make a big difference. But for me, it wasn't even until the last mile I was like, oof, I am actually going to make it. I'm actually going to make it to the finish line. So yeah, that's one thing I'm definitely proud of, is the mental side of it, of just keeping going. Because I think a lot of people might have just stopped and just called it a day.
Did you have? I've got a proper question now, Paula. Sorry.
Go on then. That's right.
I was going to say, did you treat it? And it sounds like a strange question, but you know what I mean. Did you treat it like a different sport almost? But because obviously you're such an accomplished runner, and we just assume. We just think marathon is running the same as 10K on the track, but it's not. It's a completely different. It is a different sport in a way. So did you frame it differently going in? I know you said all these fears and stuff, but did you try and frame it like it was a whole new world, a whole new challenge?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it was a new challenge. I think, as I sort of touched on earlier as well, even just taking on gels and drinks and stuff, never had to worry about that. Even for a half marathon, I'm only running I'm not running under 70 minutes, say, all the time for a half. So for me, taking on like gels and drinks isn't really necessary. If I have a good breakfast in the morning, like that's enough, and a snack or whatever, it's enough to fuel me through. But for the marathon, I just knew that would be different. I knew I had to sort of get used to taking on gels and drinks and taking on carbs, which was in the beginning that was really tough, actually, just getting used to taking on drinks, even just gut wise, like not being able to, or breathing as well, have to remember to like take a drink, breathe and run. Like it's just small things like that. Like you're just not used to it. You've never done it on the track. So it is a big transition trying to do it on the road. But again, that's one of the things I'm actually quite happy with. I felt like I obviously am nowhere near the, I don't know, gold standard Kipchoge amount of carbs that you're meant to be taking through a marathon, but I don't think I ever will get up to like that sort of amount of carbohydrate intake. But for me, I was really happy with just how smoothly that process went. I was able to take the gels on. I didn't get any cramps, like stomach cramps, no stomach issues. Like that all went relatively smoothly. I think the thing that I didn't really prepare for was how warm it happened to be on that day. I cramped up very, very early. And again, that was probably my own fault of, in my mind, I was like carbs, 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 not thinking salts, electrolytes, water, maybe drink water in the course, like that might help. So I think I learned an awful lot, I think, for the next time to be a bit more prepared in that side of things too. And it's a very steep learning curve, but I learned an awful lot.
And I think a lot of people were caught out by the heat in London this year as well. Yeah. A lot of people listening to the pod have talked about how it was the hardest thing was adjusting to the conditions on the day and still being able to go out there and tick off your targets. So now you're building towards New York and you're going to take those learnings from London into that. But New York's also a very, very different course. And I know your mum's run it before, so she will be able to give you those pointers on that. You've run different races in New York as well, and in the park, so all of that will help. Are you excited about it? I'm sure you're excited about it, right?
Yeah, again, it's just like a new challenge. It's, again, even though it's the marathon, as you said, it's a completely different course, a completely different challenge with the terrain that it's on. Everyone mentions that it is one of the hardest marathon majors to do. So yeah, I'm excited by doing something different. It does feel like a different chapter now, like moving away from the track and doing this. I'd love to do all the major marathons, but particularly the ones that are really sort of special to me are obviously London for obvious reasons. But yeah, my mum, just with her win at New York, probably again, even Greta's history with the New York, then Tokyo as well for me. Again, my mum won there. It's another one that I think I'd love to do at some point. Japan just in general is a country I absolutely love, especially ties with ASICS as well. Like for me, those would definitely be the two in my agenda, the next ones that I would really love to do. But I'm going to wait and see how training goes. Like I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket like I did for London and feel like if I'm not ready and like if I feel I need extra time, then maybe it's something we postpone to next year. But for right now, like plan A and the build up that we're in right now is all towards New York. So I'd love to be able to do it. I think everyone mentions again, like the crowds and stuff in New York are really cool. Even just running through the city has always been through Central Park and everything for me is it's just such a cool place to train, to race.
It is.
So yeah, people say it's a very different vibe, but it's still, a really good atmosphere.
It's brilliant, and you will absolutely love it. And I think coming from Font and the preparation there as well, taking in the Great North, and we are going to quickly get your tips for the Great North course as well for the listeners, but taking that in pre-New York, I always found it worked really, really well, and people will talk about the hills. I don't think you'll find those a problem when you've been training there and you've run the Great North. I'm not sure you're going to find the hills in New York that much of a problem.
Yeah, I feel like that's my biggest fear, because everyone keeps mentioning the hills and I'm like, oh my God. But I didn't feel London was flat either, to be fair. I felt not that it was flat. There was a lot of turns and twists in London, which I found really difficult towards the end, like going through Canary Wharf. I remember thinking to myself, God, I'm just constantly turning here and my quads are so heavy and I'm just turning. So that for me was more challenging, I think, with having such long legs and that point of the race. So yeah, as long as the roads are nice and they're sort of nice, long, smooth hills, I think that would probably do me okay. But I'm also just excited to not be in like a paced race as well. As I said like earlier, I'm 25 miles solo, whereas in New York, I know it's a small like women's elite field, but there's no pacers, so it's a really competitive one. And every year I've watched it, there's a huge chunk of women all racing right up until the last sort of 10k of the race. They're all still together, and that's something that excites me too. And to be honest, that's probably what drawn me to New York, was just, again, it's a different type of race, a different type of environment, different type of race, and a more competitive one, which I think will suit me really well.
And what will it be, 35 years is it since your mum won? I thought she won it in 91 after Tokyo.
Yeah, 91. It was straight after Worlds. Yeah.
So 34 years.
Obviously, you're going to do more training for this marathon compared to last time. You took a bit easier, and I totally identify with just get to the start line in one piece. I've had that a few times, even after I've done marathons in the past. But is there anything you kind of slightly altered around your training in preparation for this to take into account the hills, like with your runs, with your longer runs? Are you doing some rolly hit runs? Are you doing anything in training that is slightly sympathetic to the course?
I mean, as Paula mentioned, like obviously I'm in Font Romeu, so one of the trails that I'm on at the moment in Beaucaire is the first time, I posted on social media, we spoke about it earlier, like it's the first time I've actually been able to do that run. It's about a 9 or 10 mile loop you can do, and it's the first time I've been able to do it in probably 3 years maybe, because of the knee surgery. I just couldn't, my leg was too sore and it was unstable, and it's quite rocky, but there's a full section that's about a mile just up the side of the mountain. And it's tough, like it is a tough run to do. I use that as like an easy run day, but it doesn't really feel easy. But just even being able to do that again has given me a lot of confidence to think, well, actually, my body can withstand a lot more than it has the last couple of years. It's gradually getting stronger, getting better. Even gym work, to be honest, I haven't been able to do gym all of last year, all the last 2 years. And I'm now able to be squatting back in the gym again, actually being able to put weight through my legs again, which I just ultimately feel stronger even when in my own stride. So I'm hoping that all of that will sort of start to pay off as well towards it. Not even just for New York, but even just looking ahead even to next year too. Like I hope that the sort of things that we're able to implement in training now is going to have an effect further down the line. And at the end, it's just really the consistency of being able to do that. Instead of it just doing London, I had as I said, I probably had those 3 like really big weeks for me. But that's not really enough for a marathon. I want to get to the point where I'm able to do like an 8, 10, 12 week block where I'm like consistently at that sort of mileage and that tempo. So we've been gradually, like sensibly building up the mileage. And I think that'll be the next key part really over these next couple of months, is try and just get my mileage to pretty much stay where I am right now, but build up some of the long runs. I think even mentally for me, it would help being able to get up to consistently running like a 20, 21, 22. I think that would really help me. Because in the past I've come from running, like my easy run would be like 12, 13, 14 miles. So it's quite a big jump to like even mentally get up to those sort of mileage and not feel like it's taken forever. It's the mental side of that too is very different as well.
Do you enjoy it?
I actually really like the sessions. Like I love doing long intervals. Like that for me is fun. Even on the track, like the other day I did something like 12 miles of intervals around the track, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's disgusting.
Wow,
Like how can you
wow.
bother doing that?" But I love it. Like I love that. I love the feeling of running fast. For me, the stuff that I find boring is just going for like a long run, but an easy run. Like that to me, I do find it boring. Like I chat to Michael the whole way, so it does pass the time, but that's not the bit that I love. You know, the bit that I really love is like the fast stuff and feeling like you're pushing yourself. Going out for a sort of easy meander run is like the bit I'm like, eh. It helps, obviously. It's beautiful outside. It's a nice location, but you're just like head down, just like grinding out miles rather than, yeah.
It's that quantifiable feedback of that kind of fight or flight mechanism with running and speed. And
isn't it, when you're in the marathon training, is kind of like that training, and that's why having the race in like the Great North is a really great way to come out and just think, okay, great, I get to escape and I get to go and race. And it is a course. I mean, I know the first year you did it, you didn't do the correct course, right? Because you did it in COVID. But since then you've raced.
Yeah, so I did the COVID course the very first time, which was like an out and back. So obviously that was completely unique. But yeah, last year I did it for the very first time on the like proper iconic course. But it was like biblical rainstorms, so we could like barely see the road. It was so flooded. But then actually when the masses went off, it was like perfect weather for them. So we felt like we got like two different stories of what the Great North Run was last year. But I loved it. Like it really was a cool atmosphere from start to finish. Like people even cheering you alongside like the motorway as well. It was again like another unique race in the UK, one that's obviously been around for so many years. I know it was their anniversary last year of it, so it's it's a special race for me. I'm excited to be back there again. It's nice to split up training. As you said, I've been just sort of from London. It's a very different season for me, like taking time off in May and then sort of starting get fit again June, July. Like it's just been totally unique for me. Normally, you know, I'm like hammering track sessions and getting ready for Worlds or getting ready for this. Like it's been a flipped upside down season where I'm preparing now for the Great North. Having already had some time off, it's unusual, but I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing everybody on race day.
And big tips for people racing?
I would say definitely pace themselves through the first half, particularly that first 5-10k is quite nice. You know, it's nice big open roads. It's a sort of slight downhill section maybe to begin with. So, and everyone is excited at the start. You know, there's such a good buzz. Like everyone's high-fiving, like the music's blaring. Like you can get there's a big adrenaline rush, I think, on the start line of the Great North. So everyone can get carried away, go off a little bit too fast. But it's a tough course. You know, there's a lot of rolling hills. I know it's point to point, and everyone says it's slightly downhill.
I never got that.
I don't know how, because I remember the first time doing it thinking, this is another hill, they've lied to me. This is another hill, they've lied to me. But it's a really aggressive sort of downhill, you know, at that last bit going into South Shield. But I would say try and preserve energy for that final mile, because it is a really special mile going along South Shields across the coast and the waterfront. People line both sides of the street, so even though you'll be so tired, like you do get a really big boost of energy towards that finish line.
Oh, thank you so much, and huge amount of good luck. We will be all watching you. This is going to drop on the Monday before the Great North Run, so people will be listening to it as they're getting ready for that and taking on those tips on board and looking excited to see you race. Thanks so much, Eilish.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a brilliant, and apologies long, but I think we had a lot of information and great stories to get out of Eilish in that chat, and also some inspiration for all of you getting ready for that Great North Run. So don't forget, you can catch up with her there, and you can also keep sending in all your questions. We can have some voice messages as well. Remember, they can come in. So the email address is paula's.runclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk. That WhatsApp number where you can leave a voice note is +44 7564 747 914. And don't forget, on socials, it's @Paula's Run Club. And you can watch the full podcast on YouTube. And a reminder, we do, of course, have the weekly Shakeout, which drops on the Thursday. Regular pod drops, as always, on a Monday. What were your highlights of that Eilish chat, Thommo?
Do you know what? I got a goosebump listening to talk about that last lap of Birmingham. That's kind of why I asked the question, because I get a real buzz hearing someone talk so passionately about something they've worked so hard for, and they've put so much heart and soul into something that's gone on for years and years and years. And so often, you know, athletes can judge themselves on the failures, because that's what we do. That's how we find a way to motivate ourselves, ironically. It's that kind of weird catch-22. You reach an Everest and then you just create a new one. But it's really nice to just absorb yourself in that feeling of shared pride for someone, to go, you have been so driven, you've made this happen. And I just get a real buzz, and just the way she talked about how the crowd helped her do that was genuinely, I got goosebumps listening to it. I think it was, and she's a lovely woman, and just her whole team around her, just a great bunch. But for you, your highlight?
Well, I think I actually love this. I love the symmetry, if you like, of the fact that, well, kind of symmetry and not symmetry. There's a point to this. Just the fact that, like you said, her talking about that victory in Birmingham, and I remember commentating on it and watching it and just being so happy for her, because you could see her hanging on, and then you could almost see that belief that she talked about grow in her, coming into that final couple of 100 meters, to the point where she's actually, you know what, I can actually win this. I'm not just holding on anymore. I can win this. And I think for me, the contrast of that, because one of the big inspirations for me will always be Liz front running her way to that World Championships victory on the track in Tokyo in 1991. And we are now going into another World Championships in Tokyo in a couple of weeks. And I vividly remember how long she gutted it out, just grinding it out till no one could stay with her. So you couldn't kind of get a further distance between the two ways that those two McColgans have won championships, and I think that was really special. And also hearing her talk about Grete Waitz, because Grete Waitz was one of the biggest icons and idols for me growing up. I would put her up there with Ingrid Christensen and Joan Benoit Samuelson, who, little teaser, we might have coming up on the podcast soon. But Grete is, like, for me, one of the first ladies of marathon running. I think for what she did and what she showed could be done in winning 5 times World Cross Country, winning 9 times New York City Marathon. And I've heard the stories about how she went into that basically having not run further than 12 miles, and ended up, I think, running a world record that day, as well as winning the first of the New York City Marathon titles, and then went on to become a legend of marathon running, of women's marathon running, and kind of blazed that trail, because back then women were still proving they could run marathons, and she was really doing that and inspiring so many of us youngsters kind of getting started there. And also the way that she fought her cancer to the end and made such a difference, and never gave up, kept running, and went back and ran the New York City Marathon when she was still going through treatment.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it really is incredible, like, hearing things like that. And I do, like Eilish mentioned, how normalized it was to be in her presence.
Yeah.
As a kid growing up was quite, it's got, like, for anyone else, they would be paying thousands and millions just to be in that room with her, and for Eilish it was just an everyday thing. But
and I think Liz probably got to that point. I mean, I'm putting words into her mouth, but because Grete was coaching her at the time that Eilish is talking about, Grete would pop around, and I think she probably got to the point where she was like, I have this contact and I cannot think of anybody better to advise me. And I'm not sure Grete, I know Jack, her husband, is a qualified coach. I'm not sure Grete was, but I think it was more what she could bring and what she could add to an already extremely tough runner. And she could just add that extra dimension to Liz's running.
Wow. Yeah, so it is. But Should we move on to praising the listeners?
Yeah, let's move on to the honours board. Go on, are you going to kick off with the first one?
You pause. Yeah, I do you know what? I've had an idea.
Okay.
So just quickly before we start, I thought I love this honours board, but I also, it's off the back of a few other things I've seen and done, is could we almost extend this into a little bit of an honours / good luck board where people leave, and I'd love it to be people leave a voice message on that WhatsApp number with just a very quick little message of good luck to my brother, sister, mum, dad, whoever it is running a race on a weekend coming up, and we could put it into the episode and maybe into a short clip on social media just to give almost like a good luck message. So we have an outward honours, well done, and also a good luck message to people. Just a bit of extra work for our producers.
No, that is really, really good. So just a reminder again, quickly for that, you can do it on socials, of course, at Paula's Run Club, but the WhatsApp number is +44 7564 747 914, and send us in, and I guess we'll ask you to send in as well what we're going to call that, but we're going to call it what, Thommo? Shout out honours? Good luck.
I think we need something. We'll work on it.
We need something a bit catchier.
Kind of a good luck moments. I've had a few thoughts, but maybe there's some sponsors in the background that we might be talking to that could insert there. But anyway, so the first honours board comes in from Joanna Smiles. Mental Momentum is the title. Dear Paula and Thommo, I ran the Manchester Marathon in 2024 and I was a little disappointed with 4 hours 20. Ran 2 marathons previously in my pre-child 20s, also over 4 hours, so is in line with what could have been potential. Listen to the podcast and follow advice on footwear, pacing, nutrition, hydration, dealing with hard skin. 2025 Manchester Marathon 3:53. Delighted. Awesome. Fantastic.
Excellent.
I love it. 3 weeks later, I tore my ankle ligament running 1 mile 1 meter, sorry, not 1 mile, 1 meter for a paddle tennis ball. Have cross-trained with swimming, spinning and walking, but desperately miss running. Seeing others running, going past my favourite horns, all induced frustration. I'm sorry you're both a bit injured and sincerely wish you both speedy recovery. Your messaging around not being alone and alone through injury has been comforting. I also valued the advice around patience during recovery and emphasis on how much more the injured runner appreciates the run when it returns. You provide mental momentum when mileage is gone. Thank you. I love that. That's a good little tagline. Because of the podcast, I'm experiencing much more gratitude in my exercise. I'm lucky I can at least cross-train, and I'm incredibly grateful for such an informative, engaging podcast. Thank you so much, Joe, 45 from Middlesbrough. That's awesome. And you broke 4 hours in Manchester. I am buzzing. I am so happy about that to feel like. So well done. Congratulations, Joe. Just fantastic. Really happy for you.
Brilliant. Well, you're going to be buzzing after this next one.
And you will be back running soon. You will be back running soon. We're with you. Come on, you can do it.
You will. Good luck. Hopefully you are already, because that is one from about a month ago, isn't it? So
is it?
You are
crikey.
back running by now already, and that would be great, Joanne. But hang in there, and you will be back smiling around those miles. You see what I did there, Thommo?
Yes, very good.
So just to make you smile on this next one, this is actually from David Hart, and he sent in a quick email saying that he's a huge fan of the podcast. He's getting ready for Dublin in October and continue building his fitness. He likes listening to us on his easy runs around Moat Park in Roscommon, Ireland. But he's putting you onto the honours board, basically, Chris, because you're an everyday hero for the Bin and Boxes cameo, which had him in creases.
I'm sorry, I need to. The Bin and Boxes cameo a few weeks ago had me bent over.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Laughing when you were trying to put the bin out in your boxes. That's what. It's not the bin and boxes in your boxes.
Took me a couple of seconds. Yeah. Oh man, bin and boxes.
I'll explain that for you. So just a quick reminder again. You can send in anything.
You're lucky there were boxes.
Thanks for that one.
Took me a couple of seconds to twig there. Yeah. Thank you, mate. Yeah. The bin made it. That's all that matters.
So just a quick reminder before we go that we do still have that offer going with NordVPN as well. We've got the exclusive discount for you, the extra 4 months that you can get on there, up to 10 devices working at once to protect your security, protect your data, and ensure that you can watch all the things that you're used to streaming and watching at home, wherever you are in the world. Go to nordvpn.com/Paula Paula's Run Club for that. And please do keep sending in all of those questions for the listener interaction shakeout. Weekly shakeout drops every Thursday. That's a reminder there. The email address is paula's.runclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk. That WhatsApp number +44 7564 747 914. And of course, remember on socials at Paula's Run Club, you can watch the entire episodes on YouTube as well. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, to tell your mates, to enjoy your running. Think about joining us for that live shakeout run and podcast recording at the Great North Run if you are around, please. And this has been a Momentum Broadcast production. Thank you very much for listening.